maybe it's not really worth talking about, but you know what? I did think this was interesting enough to go out there and explore in a video. So today we are revisiting the trade that we had seen yesterday. Brayden Yager, Rutger McGroarty, Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, they made themselves a swap. 2 picks in the 14th overall spot in 2 separate drafts got traded for each other, and it was a deal. It was a trade. I mean, maybe not the big trade like some people thought McGroarty would have been a part of a few weeks or months ago, but McGroarty finally got sent away. We all knew this was coming. But what I wanted to do in this video was go over some of the comments made by Winnipeg GM Kevin Cheveldayoff in regards to the trade itself. Because with these comments opens up an entirely new Pandora's box as to the entire McGroarty saga in Winnipeg and why he might have just refused to play with Peg City. Now, if you needed the scoop, let's go out there and just review some of the things we had talked about yesterday. Rutger McGroarty, great player in the NCAA, great player at the World Juniors, a guy who definitely has top 6 NHL potential, but who didn't sign with the Winnipeg Jets, with rumors saying that it was because of the way Winnipeg develops their players. Rutger McGroarty, his party, his camp, they may have taken a look at some of the other guys in the Winnipeg system over the years, younger players, Christian Vesalainen, Logan Stanley, Ville Heinola. A lot of these guys who have been top-tier prospects, first-round guys, who inevitably did not amount to much with the Winnipeg Jets, mostly due to the Winnipeg Jets' own development and development choices with these guys. This was an idea that made sense. I mean, if you wanted to say, yeah, like, the Winnipeg Jets don't develop their prospects well, they don't give their prospects room to breathe or the right opportunities to exhibit their talent at the National Hockey League level. Cole Perfetti is another name that you could say is kind of following in that same mold, but for a guy like Rutger McGroarty to potentially look at that and not really see himself fitting in with the version of Winnipeg into the future that would be competitive, it's all within his own prerogative to say that he wants out, right? And it was made very apparent when he didn't sign with the team last year. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about the Kevin Cheveldayoff comments is because what he goes out there and says is a pretty direct contradiction to what we had heard about McGroarty and his party. Here's the tweet from Mike McIntyre. Kevin Cheveldayoff is about to speak with the media via Zoom about the McGroarty trade for Brayden Yager. He says the club was never given a clear answer from Rutger McGroarty and his camp as to why he wasn't going to sign in Winnipeg. The repeated answer from McGroarty and his agent in face-to-face meetings was simply, it just didn't feel right. Nothing more. Now, this is such a strange way to go out there and talk about reasonings for demanding a trade. Obviously, this is uncharted territory for NHL prospects and NHL fans. Like, I feel like hockey is one of the only sports out there where it's pretty consistently like, hey, you're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 guys every draft year that straight up just refuses to sign with the team that drafted him. Most hockey players have the right to do that, but most hockey players just straight up don't do that. If they get drafted by a team and they're good enough to get signed, mostly you will see them get signed by that team and continue to develop and be a part of that system, etc., etc., etc. It's only so rare that you have the Cutter Gauthiers or the Rutger McGroartys, the situations where the guys seriously just do not vibe with what it is that is presented in front of them. So for Rutger McGroarty to have this sort of response, assuming everything Kevin Cheveldayoff is 100% fact, to have this response where it's like, yeah, it just doesn't feel right. Like, what doesn't feel right? Is it the vibes or is it the development? I mean, we had been seeing some people going out there and memeing this response saying, hey, this could be the very first time an NHL player is straight up saying he doesn't want to get paid millions of dollars because the vibes are off. He decides instead to drop out of school, move south, and become a Penguin. Like, of course, that's kind of joking around here, but if Rutger McGroarty is going through a situation where that's kind of the response and that's the outcome that is given here, I really do question where his NHL career is going to go from here and what kind of things he's going to be able to pick up on and learn. Mostly because, like, we had seen the Rutger McGroarty public trade request and the idea of him wanting out. That was a really big topic for months, it felt like. Weeks at the very least, but maybe for a month or two, we were talking about McGroarty wanting out for maybe similar reasons to that. So now, to see Kyle Dubas trade for this guy and have Dubas say in the press conference, oh yeah, yada yada yada, skilled player, good player, leadership. Like, really? Leadership? I don't know about that, man. Like, same thing with Cutter Gauthier. We had made the video just a few weeks ago talking about how the Anaheim Ducks article that they had posted about Cutter Gauthier being a leader and a mentor and all this stuff, it's such a slap in the face to Philadelphia Flyers fans and the Flyers organization, because what kind of leader goes out there and completely turns his back on the team that drafted him and handcuffs the team that drafted him into a desperate kind of excommunicado-like trade situation? I mean, at least with Cutter Gauthier, that came out of nowhere when the trade went down, and everyone was like, oh really, he didn't want to play in Philadelphia? Huh, no wonder he didn't sign. But for McGroarty, it was like, yeah, no, he wanted out for a while. And we learned about that as media folks and fans. That just tarnishes the entire idea or the image of the guy in the public eye in a pretty significant way. So for Kyle Dubas to acquire him and then start talking about leadership, yeah, no, it kind of, I don't really know how that feels. Now, there are a few extra thoughts that you could describe the Winnipeg point of view with. I thought this was really interesting. Call of Daddy said in the comments of the Reddit thread, from a player PR standpoint, he can't say, I just don't want to live in Winnipeg or I don't like this franchise. So staying vague is the most diplomatic thing he could do. You then had Premier Poutine respond saying this, on one hand, I agree. Myself and others from Winnipeg may have been all over for him if he had said that. But it's not like others haven't been honest. I remember Ilya Bryzgalov saying he wouldn't come back here because we didn't have enough parks. At least the dude had some humor around, not like in the city. Rutger just seems fake after all of this. That's all. Certainly he has his rights to take his career where he sees fit, and I'm happy to have Brayden Yager. Another comment says, yeah, he wouldn't be the first to do so, leaving Winnipeg because he just doesn't like it, but he would be labeled. As a Jets fan, I'm disappointed, and hoping they could have worked things out. Hopefully Yager would work out for us. And this is where you start talking about the benefits that some of these more quote-unquote desirable cities have over, let's just say, smaller markets or colder markets or more remote markets. Obviously, you know, no disrespect to Winnipeg, Peg City is great, but for a guy who's an American kid, potentially growing up in an area where it's a lot warmer, maybe a bigger city, maybe more fans, whatever, you can understand why a guy wouldn't want to play in Calgary, for example, and instead choose to play in Sunrise, Florida. Or why a guy wouldn't want to play in Calgary, for example, and decide to go to Columbus, of all places. Okay, that one still makes a little less sense in my opinion, but still, Rutger McGroarty not wanting to play in Winnipeg, not really maybe liking Winnipeg as much as he thought he would have. I guess that's an honest way to evaluate it, but at the same time, he wasn't being honest by saying that the vibes are off in his interviews and describing the situation in that way. To end this video, though, I wanted to go over one more comment on the Our Hockey thread. The offseason was so dead and boring, but this last week made up for that. And boy, oh boy, if you check out my YouTube channel and all the views that we're getting and all these extra topics, yeah, 100%, man. It's been a crazy week. Line A trade, offer sheet, Podkolzin trade. Lots of great stuff going on here, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Rutger McGroarty and these updates from Kevin Cheveldayoff. Does this change the way you view the trade situation when you consider the comments he made to the Winnipeg management as to why he did not want to sign? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.